Do you remember when you first learned about open source, that open source software existed and that
Yep.
there are communities?
Yeah. I first learned about it in 2007. Growing up in rural Colorado, I had dial-up internet for a very long time, and it was on one computer in the house. So I didn't really spend a lot of time online learning about stuff. But in 2007, we finally moved downtown and got cable internet. And I had also just gotten a new computer, Windows Vista, at the time. And so my old Pentium 3 gateway machine, I wanted to be able to get it online and do something with it. And I was like, well, what can I do with this thing? I don't know. I was running Windows 98 on it before. I found this Linux thing and found people were recommending Ubuntu. And so I installed Ubuntu 7.10 on it. Yeah, I still remember like as a kid opening up the software center and seeing all the open source games that were there, Sauerbraten, Tuxcart, Rigs of Rods and stuff, and just being kind of amazed that all this software was there. Because this was like pre iPhone, pre App Store, but so like this was like a totally weird concept to discover and find. So that was kind of fun to get into. And for a while, I kind of split the difference between Windows and Linux because I had still grown up with Windows, like Windows 95, 98, and XP. I stayed in that for a little bit, and then I kind of started going more fully into open source in college, where I got actually a System 76 laptop and started running Linux more full time. So.
Was the school having any programs around open source or where you could get in touch with open source, or was that more you doing it on your time and just like using open source software?
Yeah, RIT had some stuff where they would talk about some of that, and there were other obviously like Linux user groups and things there, and they run mirrors for Arch Linux and some stuff, and that was some of where I got into it. It in high school and before though, there was basically nothing, so I had to kind of figure that out on my own. But yeah.
What drew you to open source? Was that the fact that you had access to all those things that you found online, or was there
Um,
more, like especially after you were not a kid anymore?
Yeah, I think it was the some of the freedom that was there. So like one of the first things I kind of got into was actually Rigs of Rods, which is an open source soft body physics simulator. And so like later high school and into college, building mods for that game and being able to make my own maps. I made like a little Cushman industrial truck, which is like this little like electric truck thing, but I made it in the game, and you could play. I made a soccer map that actually had like working soccer goals and different things in Angel script. And so the freedom to take something and then bring my own ideas to life, that whatever I wanted to do was really fun, and then being able to share that back to the community, to the Briggs of Rods forums at the time, and see what other people thought of it. There was like another guy that made like some YouTube video reviews of the stuff that I did. It was fun to be a part of like that kind of community, to see like what's going on with all this stuff, and what do other people create, and how do other people build off of what other people have built, and it kind of like expands and grows over time.
So I assume we could say that your first experience with open source, not just as a user, but also someone who gives back to the community, was a good one, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was. Yep. Yeah. And it kind of continued to be good. Even before I joined Defense Unicorns, I wanted to actually contribute to like a like what I would quote unquote a real project, because the game is fun, but like a real one. And it was actually the first one that I made to GitHub, to a project in GitHub, was the browser compat data for the Mozilla Developer Network, because I was exploring. I wanted to basically take my personal website and make it work for Internet Explorer 5, because that's what I grew up with, and I kind of missed some of that early time of messing around on the internet. I was working with reading books on JScript and the ECMAScript 1.0 and all that stuff. And then I found out that there was a small little error in the MDN on the versions. They said there was IE6 for 4 in support, but it was actually IE3 that was introduced. And so I was able to make that, and that was a fun experience too. And the contributor even said it's fun, reading old docs. The maintainer said it was fun reading old docs, and stuff, and seeing my PR show up. So that was kind of a fun thing to do as well, is to kind of like explore these other places and then be able to give back. And a lot of my time, that was also especially fun because when I was working for my school, and in the Air Force as well, a lot of what I did was web development. So I used the MDN a lot, and being able to contribute back to that was really fun too.